City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, September 19th, 2017. At this time, we've called this meeting to order, and as we do this, as we always do, we'd like to start this meeting tonight with an invocation by Pastor Matt Ballgard from the Church of Celebration. So if you'd all rise with me, that would be awesome. As well as after Pastor Ballgard is done, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance given to us by Councilwoman Chapados.
It's Ballgard, Christian, for Pete's sake, bro. How many times?
Sorry.
Hey, thank you so much. We just want to welcome you, Lord, here with us. And it is so good to be here with all of these dedicated and faithful servants, Lord, people that give their blood, sweat, and tears, their time, their families. Lord, sometimes they sacrifice much needed time away with family to be here to help lead us to step in the gap in ways in which we're not able to. And oftentimes, so often get so little credit for those efforts. And so I love that you were so and are so concerned with our leadership that you actually implored the church, those that know Jesus, to spend time daily to pray for leaders. In fact, it was Paul the Apostle said, "I urge you, Christians, first of all, that prayers, intercession be made and thanksgiving for leaders and those in authority, that we may all live peaceably together in quiet lives as we serve our Savior Jesus." And so I thank you for our mayor and our vice mayor and our council members. I thank you that I know all of them to a degree, and Lord, I know their dedication, and I know that they care about Maricopa so much more than any of us understand. Lord, they lose sleep over this community, and so it's my prayer that you would empower them, Lord, to continue caring compassionately for the needs of this community in ways that we can't fathom. Lord, that you would give them and continue to pour into them the wisdom that they have, Lord, to lead and to lead very, very well. And again, Lord, if we pay attention to Facebook sometimes, it doesn't always come across that way, Lord. So just because I'm the guy on the mic, I just want to say a big thank you on your behalf. I know you're very pleased with how they lead. We love you, and we need you in these meetings as we go about our week, Lord, but as they go into their regular session to plan and to talk. We trust you in those things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, guys.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Matt Ballgard. We appreciate all that you do for us. Thank you so much. That'll take us to the roll call, please.
Councilmember Chapados?
Here.
Councilwoman Gussie?
Here.
Councilmember Manfredi?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Wade?
Here.
Vice Mayor Brown?
Here.
Mayor Price?
Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you so much. That takes item 3 on the agenda this evening. We hit the proclamations, acknowledgments, and awards section. And as you can see, we have some very special people with us today. And so we're going to go and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Day. We have a proclamation, but before we get to all that, I'm going to turn it over to Councilwoman Gussie, who has a few words.
Thank you. Our proclamation today will recognize the contributions of Hispanics from the countries of Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Spain, Uruguay, Venezuela, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and these United States. I include the United States because millions of us were born in this country but still identify with our Hispanic heritage. It is important to acknowledge the many cultures that have contributed to the America that we know today. Hispanics are changing the landscape of this country. Did you know that the #1 song this summer was the Spanish language song, Despacito? And I'm sure all the youth here know that song. And it was written and produced by Latinos. The #1 musical in this country was created by a Latino by the name of Lin-Manuel Miranda. He is the playwright and the lyricist for the musical Hamilton. And this is about the life of an American founding father, Alexander Hamilton. These were just 2 examples of young Hispanic Americans molding the landscape of this great country. Now I must just get a little bit political here for just a second. I watched an interview with Senator McCain over the weekend, and he indicated that there are currently 900 Dreamers serving in the United States Armed Forces. These are young men and women that were admitted into the United States military under the DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. To put things in perspective, These are young immigrants, many of Hispanic heritage, that have taken an oath to serve this country, my country, our country. Now, please allow me to say a few words in Spanish. Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la ciudad de Maricopa para la celebración de nuestra herencia hispana. Con el ambiente político en este estado y en este país, yo entiendo que muchos se sienten frustrados y humillados por las palabras de nuestro presidente Trump. Y muchos se sienten insultados por las acciones que tomó sobre el sheriff Arpaio. Sin embargo, este no es el tiempo de que nos quedemos callados. Tenemos que seguir luchando. Tenemos que seguir luchando para los Dreamers, para la justicia y los derechos humanos. Con las palabras de César Chávez, sí se puede. Now, lastly, I was recently invited to preview a portion of the PBS Vietnam War series. Imagine this room with many Vietnam veterans reliving their worst nightmares. In one of the scenes, this Hispanic pilot described being captured and interrogated by the enemy. This was an intense moment in the room, and you could see many individuals, grown men that had fought during Vietnam, in tears. Now, he described his interrogation, and he said that he spoke in Spanish to his captors because he didn't know what else to say. The entire room broke out in laughter. Now, we all needed that moment of levity and that moment of reality to bring us back. Just like we all Hispanic Americans need those moments to celebrate our accomplishments in this great country. Now, thank you. Now, allow me to introduce to you Joshua D. White. He's the musical director for Santa Cruz Valley Union High School. The mariachi band is named Mariachi Cielito Lindo, and they're going to play for us one song right now.
Thank you. That was great, wasn't it? Today we're going to do a proclamation on behalf of Hispanic Heritage Month, and we were going to also, after this proclamation, we're going to take a little break and invite you all out to the foyer here, where we're going to do a little reception. And just wanted to give a quick thanks. Also invite the Cultural Affairs Committee. If you're a member of the Cultural Affairs Committee for the City of Maricopa, would you come on up? We'd love to have you up here. Come on up. All right, give them a round of applause. Thanks, you guys. We appreciate it. This is something that Councilwoman Gussie has sponsored in the past. And if you don't know, that the city recently installed as one of our permanent committees is a Cultural Affairs Committee, and it's to celebrate things just like this. And so as you can see, it's a very diverse group, which I think is wonderful. That it's very reflective of the city itself, and that's something I think we're all very proud of. So I just want to go forward with this. Whereas the history of the state of Arizona and the city of Maricopa are similar and parallel with the history of Hispanics in our great city, and whereas according to the United States Census Bureau in 2015, 24% of the residents in Maricopa were of Hispanic background. And according to the United States Census Bureau, by 2020, 27% of residents of Maricopa will be of Hispanic background, and Americans of Hispanic descent make contributions in every facet of our society. Whereas according to the Arizona State University 2010 study, more than $35 billion flow into Arizona's economy by the state's Hispanic community. That has created an enormous impact, which positively contributes to the quality of life for all Arizonans. And whereas Hispanic Americans enrich our culture and our arts and serve at every level of government, contribute to our state's economy by creating businesses and opportunities and jobs, and they serve valiantly in the military and the law enforcement, they have played a significant role in making our state strong and prosperous. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month pays tribute to and recognizes the numerous outstanding accomplishments, past and present, that these individuals made to our city, our state, our nation, and our world. Now therefore, I, Christian Price, Mayor of the City of Maricopa, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month in Maricopa, and call upon all the citizens of this community to observe and commemorate Hispanic Heritage Month as we continue our commitment of being a great place to work and live. Let's give them a big round of applause. So with that, council, with your permission, we're going to go ahead and take a 15 to 20 minute adjournment here and head out into the lobby. We encourage you, I think we have some desserts out there, so we encourage you to socialize a little bit, and then we'll reconvene back in here in about 15. Thanks. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started again here, if you'll find your seats. Thank you very much for all of that fun and excitement, and we appreciate the mariachis for being here and all of your participation. This is what makes these council meetings extra fun, so again, thank you very much. At this time, we're going to move into item 4, which is the report from the mayor. There has been a ton going on. If you were here during the work session, you heard from most of our council members. Things are just happening all over the place. I'm just going to give you a very quick rundown. Lower Santa Cruz flood control meeting, I had the opportunity to attend. We talked about some of how Maricopa fits into that specifically. Again, big deal. I've talked about it many times, and as you know, flooding is an issue here, and with all of the problems we've had in Texas and with the hurricanes, etc., of course we don't get those, which is great, but it doesn't take much for it to flood in Maricopa, so it's something that we work very diligently on. Had the opportunity to represent the city of Maricopa in 2 other locations that had to do with filming. We were also filmed to be at the GPEC Awards dinner that is coming up here. And so we're talking about the ambassador program there. And then also one of the things that we partner with and stretch your advertising dollars in with the MEDA, which is the Maricopa Economic Development Alliance, which is contributions from private companies in the area, along with city contributions through economic development. We tie those together and we produce TV spots. And these are things that run at different times during the day and help promote the different assets that Maricopa has, and another reason to move here and to bring your business here. So we're going to be on 12 News here. We just did that here at the U of A location that's in the city, and if you haven't had a chance to go out there, it's a fascinating place. You can take your kids. They are going to be having I think they call it Farm Day out there here in November. They do it every year, and thousands of visitors come, so it's a wonderful opportunity. And so we're showcasing that as one of the assets here at this time. Like the Vice Mayor said, we've had the opportunity to make a really good connection here. I failed to mention it in my last mayor's report, but had the opportunity to be on 88.7 The Pulse, talking about Maricopa, talking about our history, talking about the relationships that we have with people and why that's a good thing. I think anytime that we can reach outside of our fishbowl and bring people into understanding who and why we are and where we are is a good thing. It helps businesses come here. You never know what network they're going to have beyond who you're talking to. So anytime I think that we can get on TV and radio and advertising of any kind, it's a good thing. Also had the opportunity to participate in the MHS Homecoming Week. As you know, at the last council meeting, had a ton of our high school folks here as we were celebrating Paint the Town Red Week. Also participated in Kids Day from Dr. John on Saturday, as did many of our council members. Also spent time in court for all the right reasons, thank goodness. As you've probably read the paper, we had the opportunity to be the victor in court. Now, I don't count my chickens before they've hatched, but at the end of the day, things are going pretty good with Apex and the zoning issues there. One of the things that people always talk about is, why is that important? And I say that, it's about the ability for us to plan locally. One of the things imbued upon city councils is the power to zone, and that's given to us through the Arizona Constitution and through state law. And if we don't have that power, we don't have that authority, then it really leads to chaos. And so I think that this was much more than just a court case about a given industry or a given business that wants to come here, but rather more of a statement that this city will go to bat to help defend the rights of businesses that want to be here, as well as the legitimacy of city councils as your elected government, and really more importantly about the zoning laws and how important those are to businesses. So that was something that we've seen turn out well thus far. And then finally, last but not least, is that you've heard me say this many times, and I don't know if it'll be the last time, but certainly it is probably one of the most conclusive. After the MHS football game that we had with the city leaders and previous alumni on Thursday, I had the enjoyable pleasure of an exhausting day driving 4.5 hours to Tuba City, where I got to be prepped and ready for an early morning meeting with ADOT the next day. And at the ADOT meeting, we had the what is essentially the final conclusion prior to construction. The actual construction contract was awarded by the State Transportation Board on behalf of the city of Maricopa to an actual construction company. It's a big deal. And what it means is that after all said and done, after all the 15 years of heartache and after all of the unknowns, this construction company has the contract, they're being written a check, and now the real part begins where construction is actually going to happen, and it's going to change the landscape and the dynamic of this city. Some will say for bad, some will say for good, but I think, when you talk about traffic flows, you talk about public safety, you talk about all the things that we know it will do, it's just going to be a huge benefit to those that are commuters, to those that live here, which is pretty much all of you, and probably more importantly to public safety, to our high school, and certainly to economic development, because it's a big deal to have that fluidity where you're no longer separated between two different sides of the tracks. So with that, again, Ames Construction was awarded that contract, and I'm very excited to say that while the board was giving me garbage, from the stand there, saying that they were going to not approve it, and really touting the fact that being at all these meetings has made a huge difference, and networking with them has made a huge difference. There's a lot of projects in the state that they need to get to, and for us to have gone up to the top of that list and get millions of dollars, it really stands as a testament to moving forward, networking, and bringing to bear both our own resources and our partnerships on honing an issue that is absolutely crucial to our future. So with that concludes the report from the mayor, and I'll move on to the report from the city manager.
Mayor, one item to present to you tonight. We would like to recognize one of our outstanding employees, and so I would ask Vanessa Bellin and Chief Leffler to come to the podium.
Okay, then I will just read it. Okay, City Manager and Mayor and Council, on behalf of Director Kathy Haggerty, I'm here to present the Excellence Award for the one award that we were not able to present on the 15th council meeting to the public safety category. The two people that were nominated for the public safety category are Josh Eads, who's a fire engineer, and Meredith McLean, who is a police officer. The winner of the category is Josh Eads.
All right.
This is just a little bit that was said about Josh and all of his many contributions that he's done for the city. Josh has demonstrated outstanding performance and dedication in helping the fire department with public safety awareness and wildland firefighting. Josh Eads has been involved in FirePal organization since its inception in 2009. Since then, he's been appointed program chair and coordinator since 2012. During his tenure, the FirePals program has expanded to all public safety schools within the city. He was also successful in implementing Water Safety Week for all first graders using a curriculum provided by the Phoenix Children's Hospital. As chair and coordinator for the Wildland Urban Interface Program, Engineer Eads is responsible for in-house training, outfitting, and state compliance for our 13 wildland firefighters. Let's all thank and congratulate Josh Eads for his award.
Congratulations. Congrats, Josh. City Manager Rose, anything else?
Mayor, that concludes my report.
Okey doke. That'll take us to item 6, which is the call to the public. I do have 2 speaker cards, so I'd like to go to those first, and after which anyone else who wishes to address the council, we welcome you. We have a 3-minute timer up here, so if you please keep your comments short, as we have a lot to get to tonight. I'd like to call Dan Frank to the stand first.
Mayor, Council, thank you. My name is Dan Frank, President of the Maricopa Flood Control District, and I'm here tonight just to bring to your attention and to the attention of the public a couple items. On Wednesday, October 4th, the Maricopa Flood Control District will be holding an election. We're a special election district, so that's why we're off for the normal election cycle and having that on October 4th. We have 2 candidates for one of the vacant seats. That's Scott Kelly and Bob Marsh. And you can either vote in person. The election will be held at the clubhouse at Villages at Rancho El Dorado between 9 and 4 p.m. Or you can also request a mail-in ballot via our website. However, the deadline to request that mail-in ballot is September 23rd, so that's rapidly approaching. There's a recent change in the law that's impacted who can run as well as who can vote in this election. So again, I encourage everybody to go to our website and you can learn more about the candidates and then also this change in election law. The website is maricopafcd.com. The second item that I want to make everybody aware of is that September is National Preparedness Month. And as Mayor said, you don't have to look too deeply into recent events to see how personal preparedness and preparedness of your family is of vital importance. We've been hit in Maricopa numerous times by flooding, and next month, October, it'll actually be 14 years since the flood of record hit Maricopa, 1983, when tropical storm, it wasn't a hurricane, but it was a tropical storm, Octave dumped 12 inches of rain in southern Arizona. Pretty good sized storm. So I encourage everybody to go to FEMA's website. It's actually ready.gov to learn more about how you can become prepared and prepare your family for natural disasters. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to call up Curtis Burton.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Curtis Burton. I'm here to represent Dreamcatchers Youth Academy. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Dreamcatchers Youth Academy is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the development of our youth through sports and life experiences. Our philosophy is the 5 Ds. Through dedication, discipline, determination, and desire, you can reach your destiny. Dreamcatcher was founded in 2016. During this time, we have sponsored several events, some being our 2-on-2 basketball tournaments, sponsoring 10 boys and girls to the NCAA Final Four dribble competition this past April. We've also supported Maricopa Food Pantry, Feed the Need. We also are supporters of the Streets Don't Love You Back organization and their intervention program. We've had our first mentor session this past Saturday with the focus on our vision. We did vision boards as a roundtable. We take great pride in recognizing the young men and their accomplishments in school and their commitment to their community. We have several members on the honor roll and in the National Junior Honor Society. Some of our goals for the remaining year is to secure a facility to continue to develop our youth through sports skills and life experiences. We are also looking for sponsors to assist in our basketball tournaments. We continue to reward our boys and girls for their excellence and their performance in school and the commitment to their community. We're looking for opportunities for support so they can attend some of the Phoenix Cardinals games, some of the Phoenix Sun games, and the Mercury games, as well as visit the Science Museum. Dreamcatchers Youth Academy is excited about the opportunity to partner with local businesses and owners to participate in entrepreneurship opportunities, what we call a day on the job, a day on the dream job, where the young men have an opportunity to gain insight and experience in various professions of their interests. In closing, I would like to thank you in advance for the opportunity to support us. I would like to thank my wife, Coach Damone, and his wife, and all the coaches in business that have come alongside in supporting and nurturing this adventure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Curtis. Appreciate it. Councilmember Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to add to Coach's comments about the young men that he's working with, young men and young women that he's working with. And I asked him to come tonight or any time that he could, so that you could know that this entity is in this community. I attended the vision session that they had, their mentorship session. I was overwhelmed. He has a 6-year-old son that has more presence than any of us up here, and he's doing a great job. So I just wanted to add to it that they're doing some wonderful things. I'm glad he came forward.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. At this time, I don't have any other speaker cards, so if anyone else would like to approach the podium, I please invite you to do so. Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close the call to the public at this time, and that'll take us to items 7.1 and 7.2, which is the past meeting's minutes. Council, is there a motion to approve these?
So move.
Is there a second? There's the second. Any further discussion on the current minutes before you? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. That'll take us to item 8 on the agenda, 8.1. The mayor and city councilors hear public comment on a rezoning case, number zone 17-01, a request by Global Water Resources to rezone 31.18 acres of land from the existing zone district industrial CI2 to general industrial GI as identified within the current zoning code. Rudy.
Mayor, council members, before you open up the public hearing, this is simply a request for a rezoning of the Global Water Resource Facility located at 22590 North Powers Parkway. Proposed rezoning from existing CI2 industrial zone of the old Pinal County zoning code to transitioning now to our new zoning code, general industrial zoning. With that, this is on your regular agenda. Next, further down your agenda, staff asks you to open up the public hearing for any comments.
Thank you, Rudy. Appreciate it. So this is an opportunity for the public to comment on this particular issue. If there's something you'd like to say to us or comment on this, you may approach the podium and speak to this item and this item only. Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time, and we'll move on to item 9, which is the consent agenda. At this time, council, can I have a motion to approve items 9.1 through 9.5? There's a motion. Is there a second? A motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda at this time? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. And that takes us to the regular city council agenda at this time. Item 10.1, the mayor and city council shall discuss and possibly take action on making an appointment to the Heritage District Citizens Advisory Committee. I believe this is Councilmember Wade's appointment. So Councilmember Wade, turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I finally had an opportunity to nominate Terrence Vahis. I cannot pronounce his last name. Vahis. And Terrence was going to be here this evening. Today is his birthday, and his family had a surprise for him, so he won't be able to be here, but he's ready to go. Perfect. And Terrence is the proprietor of Cuts Barbershop in the Heritage District, so he doesn't have any issues along those lines.
Awesome.
Okay.
Great job. Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on Mr. Terrence here? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much, Councilmember Wade. Item 10.2 is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Maricopa approving and adopting a development and settlement agreement between the City of Maricopa and SLV Homestead LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, in compliance with ARS 9-500.05. This is for discussion and action. I'll turn it over to you, Dennis.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is a development and settlement agreement with SLV Homestead LLC, also known as Starwood Ventures. We've talked about this a couple times in executive session. If anyone has any questions, I'm prepared to answer it. Also, Mike Phelan, who's here tonight, is here to answer any questions.
Council, any questions on this? I believe this has gone through the negotiated process, and we've reached a settlement agreement, and appreciate all the work that both sides have done on this to get to this point. So if I don't hear anything or see any concerns, can I have a motion, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll move to the roll call.
Councilwoman Gussie.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapados.
Yes.
Councilmember Wade.
Yes?
Councilmember Manfredi.
Yes.
Mayor Price.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. Thank you. Congratulations and appreciate it. That'll take us to item 10.3, an ordinance of the mayor and city council. Arizona approving and adopting an amendment to the city's zoning map to zone certain properties described in zoning case, zone 17-01 for approximately 31.1 acres, generally situated at the northwest corner of Powers Parkway and Placone Road within the city of Maricopa incorporated limits. The parcel of land is situated in a portion of section 13 of Township 4 South, Range 3 East of the Gila and Salt River Basin and Meridian, Pinal County, Arizona. This is for discussion and action. Rudy, take it away.
Mayor, council members, fairly quickly, as you mentioned, this is the property of Global Water Facilities Resources. As shown in the map here, the subject site shown in the red polygon shape. Property address 22590. The proposed rezoning is to make it now in conformance to our new zoning code of basically converting the CI2 to comparable zoning district of general industrial, the new code itself. I do want to make mention, as part of the process of a rezoning, the applicant has fulfilled all requirements of the city's public participation requirements, as long as notifying the public, holding a public hearing, which was held at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting and also here as well, advertising for a neighborhood meeting, and all that has been went through, and P&Z Commission did recommend approval of the other requests for rezoning based on zoning sections 50914 of the city zoning code. In your staff report, you'll see there's 3 items that's required for findings for P&Z Commission made those findings. The amendment is consistent with the general plan. The change is necessary to achieve the balance of land use desired by the city, and the amendment will promote the growth of the city in an orderly manner. With that, September 11th, 2017, the P&Z Commission unanimously recommended approval of the rezoning case, subject to the conditions of approval stated in the staff report. With that, we leave for action or any questions or comments or concerns.
Council, any questions on this particular item? As has been stated before, it's conforming with the new zoning code and just moving to comparable zoning regulations. So with that, is there a motion for this?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Wade.
Yes?
Councilmember Chapados.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Manfredi.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gussie.
Yes.
Mayor Price.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rudy. Appreciate it. Item 10.4, the mayor and city council shall hear a presentation regarding the Maricopa Fire and Medical Department's new ISO 2 classification, which became effective September 1st, 2017. This is for discussion only, and it's pretty cool, so take it away, Chief.
Honorable Mayor, council members, I'm going to let Chief Storm give you the details, but I want to make a couple of comments before he proceeds. A lot of work went into this. We were at a rating of 5, and that's not very good. And we got into the details of this fire department and looked at everything from records management to how we staff our units, to how many people we have, and our water supply, and our anything from public education, everything. And it's a tribute to the staff that put in many, many hours to get this. Without going into too much detail, we are actually at a higher rating than some of our closest neighbors. And we are on par with Phoenix and Chandler. It's a huge deal. I'm very proud of the staff, especially Chief Storm, who I put in charge of this. And anyway, this is a good thing, and I'll let him take it from there.
Thank you, Chief Leffler, Mayor and Council. This was a little bit of an undertaking. When we took over, we saw the potential with what we got. There was just some tweaks that we needed to do. I learned a lot about ISO, too, along the way. So basically, ISO is the Insured Services Office. What it does is it provides gives a public protection classification to all municipalities nationwide. It measures the major elements of the department, operations, resources, stuff like that, and it's got a numerical scale, 1 to 9. The PPC program's important for us because it's a good benchmark as to where we're at, and it gives us some good ideas on where we need to go for the future. Another important thing, the PPC rating's used by insurance companies, although not as prevalent as it has in the past, in determining residential and commercial insurance premiums. So the ISO ratings, they rate all the municipalities from 1 being the best to 9 being the worst. As Chief Leffler said, we're now at 2. I did find out Chandler's a 3, so we're along with Tempe and Phoenix. Chandler, Casa Grande, Surprise, and Superstition are all 3s, so we're ahead of them, or rated above them. So ISO rated 46,000, 42 fire departments nationwide. Like Chief Leffler said, we were a 5 prior to this year. We were originally given in May a 3, but we had a couple things going. We didn't have our new ladder truck. We just had implemented a new records management system, which wasn't quite up and running. So we resubmitted that and came back with a 2. So basically that 2 rating means we're in the top 3.4% of all fire departments nationwide. So it's pretty impressive. It's a testament to the staff and the department as a whole, and especially the guys back there whose efforts make the fire department. Now here's where the interesting part comes in. PPC rating carries weight in calculating residential and commercial insurance rates. Chief Leffler asked me, he goes, can you quantify that like in a dollar amount? And the answer is no, you can't. Because basically what I found out, I talked to my own agent, who's an Allstate, talked to American Family, talked to a couple other ones. It's basically a component, it's a variable that's put into a big giant equation. So there's a little bit of redundancy in there. But what they all stated was that from a 5 to a 2, could be a 10 to 15% savings. That's based on who your insurance company is, and everybody's encouraged to check with their own to find out. But there should be some kind of savings. The redundancy is you're rated on all your fire operations and stuff like that, but then there's a redundancy, so you could live in a neighborhood, and if you got a fire hydrant in front of your house and your fire station's within 2 miles, you'll still get a better rating than somebody that's beyond that. So it was very interesting, and it's very, to me, it was a learning thing, as well as a lot of the insurance agents who didn't know how that worked either. And the other thing was State Farm is the only insurance company that does not use that, and they just have their own way of calculating. So going from a 5 to a 2 is definitely a positive reflection on the department and the city being proactive, moving forward. It's also an excellent assessment tool in evaluating the changes that we've implemented, and also in some strategic planning for the future. A couple things we got dinged on that we didn't get full credit for was lack of GIS, which we don't have. And then as the city starts to grow like it's doing now, future placement of fire stations and personnel will be another component. But all in all, it was a great thing. I think a 2 is a very accurate rating. So with that, does anybody have any questions?
Any questions, Council Vice Mayor?
Chief, you mentioned that State Farm does not observe this same PPC rating. Is there something comparable that they use?
From what I understand, each one has their underwriters use their own way of calculating things. Some use certain variables, others don't. They didn't really go into why they don't. It's just, that was the only one that didn't.
Well, for those of us who have State Farm, we might not get the benefit that others have, if that's the case.
Yeah, I would call State Farm and...
I intend to, first thing tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Chapados.
Chief Storm, thank you so much for that presentation. Thanks to everybody at Maricopa Fire and Medical. I know how hard you guys worked on this. The one thing that you didn't mention while all this other stuff was going on, you managed to move your entire headquarters to a brand-new building. So no small undertaking in that as well. But thank you for this information. And again, too, I would echo Vice Mayor's words, and people should contact their insurance companies. This may realize a savings. I have a fire hydrant in my front yard, so I'm hoping I see a big savings. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council, anyone else this time? Okay.
If I could add one more thing,
Yes.
just quickly. This is a precursor to accreditation. We're not ready for accreditation yet. We're working towards that. It's a little bit of a different animal with respect to preparation and the amount of things that they cover, and it's expensive. This is at no cost to us. So, but eventually we hope to get to the accreditation stage.
Perfect. Thank you, Chiefs. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the work and all the work from your department. That takes us to item 10.5. Let's see here. Sorry, I have a speaker card. I have a speaker card from O'Shea. O'Shea? Sorry, I always screw up your name, O'Shea. My apologies. I don't know why. It's because I read it and don't pronounce it right. Yeah. Anyways, the mayor and city council discussed possibly take action on accepting FEMA's assistance to firefighters, or SAFER grant, AFG, for adding 2 firefighters. The grant award is for $600,000, and the city has a matching component which has previously been discussed. So this is for discussion and action, and I would just go ahead and allow you to go ahead and speak first, and then we'll invite up Chief Leffler.
Honorable Mayor, respected council members, I'm just going to go off of what the chiefs just mentioned. I had something already lined out that I was going to speak on, but as you can tell, this is such an exciting time for the professional firefighters of Maricopa Fire Medical Department. As you can see, we have a lot of support back there regarding supporting the SAFER grant. The number one issue with the SAFER grant, or the main reason we really support it, is because it adds safety. Safety to the community, safety to the firefighters. And when we approach safety inside the public safety, we approach it from a systematic approach. And we like to look at number one variable, which is resources. And our resources are the proud men and women of the fire medical department. As you know, we have to rely on other outside agencies to come in when we have large scale events, but this is one of those steps that are going to help assist us in growing Maricopa Fire Medical, protecting the city, adding all those missing variables that we've had in the past. Chief Leffler and his administration, we thank them deeply for taking the time to go to Washington, D.C. Mayor Price, you went to Washington, D.C. Councilwoman Chapados, you did it, and I know all the other council members would have been more than happy to go and network the way they did, and it has really put a lot of excitement in our department, from the battalion safety officers, that new position that just generates more movement throughout the department, bringing on 4 to 6 new recruits. That's going to add movement. The morale has just elevated to a new high. I've been here for 10 years. There's guys back there who have been here since the inception of the department, and I've never seen so much excitement run through. So we all stand here in support of the SAFER grant, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ashua. Appreciate it. Chief Leffler.
Mayor, Council, we've talked about this for 3 years. We have been working on this very hard. Again, thank you to the mayor in particular and Councilmember Chapados for attending the begging session in Washington, D.C. year after year after year. I look back on this and I can't help but think that we may have been a little way helped on the overpass as well, because it got us in the door to talk about some things that were very important to the city. We have been understaffed for some time. You've heard me cry about it nonstop. We're not quite there yet, but we're making headway. And with if you choose to accept this award, then it puts us in a better position, and it chips away at that staffing deficiency. It does improve our safety. We've through the process of the general budget, you were nice enough to bestow upon us the 2 other positions, which will create battalion safety officers. These 2 additional positions, if you choose to grant this to us, will go into our leave pool, which helps with firefighter burnout, safety, and eventually a reduction in overtime, which is we're trying to do. I will answer any questions you have about the process or any questions that you might have about the Safer Grant itself.
Council, questions this time? Yes, Councilmember Smith.
Not a question, Chief, but I wanted to bring it to attention, my appreciation for the way that you've handled the financial aspect of it. I always take hesitation when we're adding new employees, knowing how tight our budget is, and I appreciate the fact that you've looked at your budget and you've found a way to fund it over the next 2 years. And based on City Manager Rose's forecasting beyond the 2 years, it looks very likely that it's a good decision to head forward in this direction. But I just wanted to thank you for the way that you handled the financial aspect of it and in a conservative way.
Mayor, Councilmember Smith, I'd love to take the credit, but I give the credit to Brenda and to the city manager. We've talked long and hard about this, and so it's not only me.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And City Manager Rose, I'm sure it was a team effort then. Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of 10.5.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Honorable Mayor, if I just could put one item
Absolutely.
on the record. The reason that this is, one of the reasons that this is being recommended is because it's not an expansion of the services. It's simply trying to bring the fire department closer to full staffing.
Thank you. Agreed. So there's a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Takes us to item 10.6, the Mayor and City Council to hear a presentation regarding Copa Bingo Shop Local Initiative and new changes for 2017. This is for discussion only. Mary Wolf.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Mayor Price, and City Council members. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to talk to you about how important it is to shop local, as well as the importance of getting that message out to the community through our Copa Bingo program. Sorry, my name is Mary Wolf Francis, and I'm the Economic Development Specialist here for the city. And I'm new, so. Okay. All right, so the importance of shopping local. It's important to support our businesses here in Maricopa because they do. We want to make sure we're growing and strengthening the businesses here. It keeps dollars in the local economy, not only for tax dollars, but also dollars that those businesses can then pour back into our community. It builds a stronger community. So many of the people that I've met with as I've been working on launching this program again this year is to, they feel a connection to the businesses because when shopping with the local businesses, they build those community connections with them. Also, as those businesses grow and thrive, they're going to hire local talent and create more wealth in the city. And finally, they're going to encourage entrepreneurship. So we know that's one of our major goals for our economic development plan here in Maricopa is to support entrepreneurship. So this encourages that. We have over 600 home-based businesses that we want to support through this effort. And of course, we keep the tax dollars here in the community to support our community services. We have over 900 businesses here in Maricopa. The majority of them are home-based businesses, as I mentioned. About 40% are brick and mortar or storefronts, but they face fierce competition from valley businesses, and many Maricopans shop will shop in Chandler rather than shopping here in Maricopa. So this is a way of helping them understand the importance of keeping their shopping dollars here in Maricopa and helping those businesses to, again, thrive and grow, which supports our local economy. So this is a slide that comes from Local First, or it's Local First Arizona is local. This is not a local slide, but these are national statistics around the importance of shopping locally and how much money that keeps in the community. So for every $100 that you spend at a locally owned business, $73 stays in the community, as opposed to shopping at a non-locally owned business, which only retains chains about $43 in the local community. So we want people to understand that this is really about our local economy and the importance of supporting those local businesses. This is another slide I came across. Sorry, this is, it's distorted. Sorry, I apologize for that. But it basically shows that when you shop at a local chain, only 13.6% of those dollars are recirculated into the community, right? And then if you shop at independent stores in Maricopa, 52% of those dollars remain circulating in the community. So that's 4 times more economic benefit for our region in shopping locally. And essentially that means that they're using local talent and they're contributing to local charities as well. So you've seen this statistic before. We have a retail leakage issue here in Maricopa. We want to make sure that we have a challenge. We want to make sure that we're keeping as much of that money here locally. We have $368.8 million that is being spent outside of the city of Maricopa in the areas that you see listed on the slide there. Now this is actually down from last year, so we're very optimistic that we're making some progress in keeping our local shopping dollars here in Maricopa and recruiting more retail here that is supporting what our local citizens would like to see here in Maricopa. So I would love to tell you the top 10 reasons why you should shop locally, but what I'm going to do is hopefully turn to Jake, who's supposed to give me the video. He's going of the experts who are going to tell you exactly what the top 10 reasons are for shopping locally here in Maricopa.
Councilmember Manfredi, are you playing Maricopa's newest game, Copa Bingo?
Sure am, Mayor Price.
Awesome. Are you playing Copa Bingo? Not yet convinced that shopping local is worthwhile? Well, I just happen to have top 10 reasons here as to why you should shop local and have fun while doing it. Number 10, you get to save gas, time, and money. There are 24 business categories, so everything you need, you can get in Maricopa. No need to drive out of town, so you save gas and time.
And many businesses are providing discounts to people playing Copa Bingo, so that saves you money too.
That's right. Number 9, you get better service. When shopping at a local business, you're seen as an individual, not as a number. The rapport built between small businesses and their customers is often long-standing, and the service received is generally better when you're familiar with the staff. Number 8, well, frankly, it's fun. I'm having fun. Are you having fun playing Copa Bingo?
You bet. And I've got my whole family playing and challenging my friends and neighbors to play to see who can get the most Copa Bingo cards filled.
And don't forget, there are great prizes involved. So when you play this game and you turn in your cards, there are awesome prizes you can win.
Yep.
Number 7, it fosters entrepreneurship. Local entrepreneurship fosters economic innovation and prosperity. The success of locally owned, independent businesses provides real-life inspiration to our young people, proving that they can stay here and prosper on their very own terms. Number 6, shopping local is worth every penny. $68 of every $100 spent at a local business actually stays in our community. I bet you didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Number 5, community investment. Locally owned businesses contribute more to local charities and fundraisers, which is key in this day and age.
Yeah, and they also recirculate the dollars they make by using other local businesses as suppliers for marketing, financial, legal, and other services.
It's true. Number 4, it helps create more good jobs. Small local businesses create 2 out of every 3 new jobs. Buying locally means that employment levels are more likely to be stable and may even create more opportunities for local residents to work in our own community. Number 3, it keeps dollars in Maricopa's economy. In other words, it puts your tax dollars to good use. Keeping your money in your local economy funds more local services through sales tax and invests in neighborhood improvement and development. Number 2, it encourages local prosperity. Money spent at a local business generates 3.5 times more wealth for the local economy compared to money spent at a big box store.
It's true, yeah.
And the number 1 reason that we encourage everyone to shop local is it keeps our community unique and it shows hometown pride. The places where we eat, we shop, and have fun all have the potential to make a community feel like home.
One-of-a-kind businesses are a fundamental part of the distinctive character of a community like Maricopa.
And there are so many more reasons, other than just these top 10, to shop local. So, get out there, shop local, and play Copa Bingo.
How about a round of applause for that, huh? You're really good sports. Thanks for doing that video. We actually have 5 different videos we'll be running during the campaign from people all over the community, including Terry Crane, who happens to be here from the Chamber, who did a new one for us this year. So why Copa Bingo? Copa Bingo is our way of creating the campaign that encourages our residents to shop locally. There's a high probability that the community and businesses are engaged, so they're working together, they're getting to know each other. I've actually run into people who said that last year they visited businesses that they hadn't visited before because they were encouraged to do so by the Copa Bingo program. It's easy to track the participation because we know how many cards are being turned in and we know how many businesses are participating. And we have the ability to have a broad business category. So you'll see the icons that are on the card are industry icons, they're not specific businesses. So there's a little bit of flexibility in how we're able to get people to get their stamps on those particular icons representing industries. So here are the 24 categories that are on the Copa Bingo card. You can see that there's some of them are easy to understand, like the tooth. We all know that's probably a dentist, thank you. Or the shirt, that's probably shopping for clothes, thank you, all right. So, but if you look at the second from the top row, let's say I'm taking a day and I'm gonna go get some coffee first thing in the morning. And then I'm gonna go to a service of some kind of professional services, so maybe my insurance company. And then I'm gonna go to a doctor's appointment or maybe an eye appointment. And then I'll visit my dentist, not always fun, but I will definitely go. And then the last thing, the M, is for attending any Maricopa sponsored event. So when you go to any of these services or shops, buy something, do something, get it stamped by that shop, and then you can, once you get the bingo up or down, then you can submit your card for prizes. So how to play is just like traditional bingo. You're going to shop at independently owned Maricopa local businesses between October 4th, which is the State of the City event, where the mayor will launch this, and then we'll shop through December 27th. That's actually midnight on the 27th. And all you need to do is buy or do something and get the Copa Bingo stamp signed. Any single line up or down creates a bingo. Or you can get a full card stamped, which we call a blackout. That counts for 5 entries, and you are in the running for the blackout prize. So you can be creative and enter Copa Bingo on social media. So all you need to do is snap a photo of each location where you're participating in Copa Bingo, tweet it or post it to Facebook using the hashtag Copa Bingo, tag the establishment and tag Maricopa Matters, and then email a photo or scanned copy of your winning card to the shop local at maricopa-az.gov. And that will submit as an entry for for prizes given every week. Or you can drop off the cards. You can actually pick up and drop off cards at these 8 locations that I've been working with locally. So what's really exciting is that these locations are working very heavily with us to be able to promote the Copa Bingo throughout the community through their network as well. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But we're really grateful for the support that we've been getting from those local entities that are working with us on the Copa Bingo program. So the prizes are going to occur every week. So every Thursday I'm going to run around town, I'm going to pick up the bingo cards. We're going to pick a card for a prize. These prizes have been donated by local businesses. They're worth at least $50. And it's either a gift card or a basket of some kind. At the end of the campaign, so on that last day, we'll be pulling for a final prize of $250 gift card, and then we'll also be pulling for that blackout prize that is yet to be determined. So again, we're working with local businesses to put those prizes together for the weekly drawings for prizes. So marketing and promotion. So we've been doing a lot of the traditional things. We're putting ads in Maricopa Monitor. We're in Hey Maricopa. We'll be doing a lot of email campaigns, typical PR, signage. We've done one business information session so far. We'll be doing 2 more, one again tomorrow and another one on the 27th. We've been doing presentations with the city boards and commissions, the HOAs, so we're doing one in Province next week. And then we've got the video series that I mentioned before on how to shop or why to shop local. And then we have our community ambassadors, our MAP folks that are going to be helping us to get the word out not only to the community, but also to the businesses to encourage them to participate in the program. So what's new this year? So we really wanted to take it up a notch. So we have our Maricopa Advocates program volunteering to be able to reach out to the businesses. I actually made a presentation at the pep rally at the high school last Friday, which was really fun. And I went to the Ram Fest and was able to hand out bingo cards there. The community college has agreed to have their faculty present about Maricopa, the Copa Bingo program to all of their classes and encourage them to participate. That's a 600 student outreach for Copa Bingo at the community college. We have local organizations such as the Chamber of Commerce, MCE, that are working with us to support this and proliferate this. Again, city boards and commissions, homeowners associations, and we'll have I'm working right now on a social media kit or a program or a plan for how to really do the reach out for social media, and I'm pretty sure we're going to ask the mayor to participate in tweeting out and posting on Facebook about Copa Bingo. So the time frame is, like I said, from the State of the City address on October 4th through December 27th. That's midnight on the 27th. That's a Wednesday. We'll be handing out the final prizes on that Thursday, the 28th. Again, I mentioned the business information sessions, and then the campaign kickoff at the State of the City. So finally, what we really wanted to do is make sure that we could look at what the progress is. What's our measure of success? So as I mentioned before, we're going to be looking at the number of businesses participating and hopefully doubling that, or at least trying to really encourage more businesses to participate this year, especially the home-based businesses. So what a lot of people don't know is if you have someone who owns a home-based business that comes to your house to repair something, then they even if they don't have a stamp, they can initial the card on that icon and you can get credit for that. So we want to encourage more home-based businesses to participate. We want to look at the number of Copa Bingo cards that are submitted, and finally we'll look at the level of social media that is interaction that's taking place. So that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you again for your time, and I'll take any questions.
Council, any questions on this? Pretty straightforward. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it. All right. That takes us to item 10.7. The mayor and city council shall discuss the 4-day work week employee survey findings. This is for discussion only. City Manager Rose.
Honorable Mayor, council members, we recently conducted a survey of all of our employees with regards to their opinion about the 4-day work week. And through that survey process, we learned that it was very well supported. If you look at all full-time employees, to the turn of about 81% of those employees that are full-time support the 4-day work week. This item was initially brought forward to you in 2012, and at the time it was brought forward to you as a test to see how the 4-day work week would work. And I think at the time it was also presented that even though some of the employees would end up going to a 4-day work week, there would be a large share of our employees that would remain on the 5-day, or their services wouldn't be interrupted. That included police, fire fleet services, building inspections, library, park maintenance, and recreation services. Through this process, we learned that if you recall back around 2012, 2013, what happened in our economy. And so that was a time period of significant downturn. And as a result of that, in the building inspections area specifically, there was not that many inspections that were occurring. And so they also migrated to the 4-day work week schedule. We know now that that has turned around. And so we will be moving them back to still on a 4-day work schedule, but the coverage will be Monday through Friday. So once we hire the new inspector, and the intention is to have that person work Tuesday through Friday, we will end up moving others. Historically, Fridays has been the lightest day for inspection because you're heading into the weekend. But if we see a need starting to exist on Fridays, our intention will be to address that need as well. I will share with you that the home building is occurring at a more rapid pace than what we had anticipated during the budget process. If you recall, you approved a building inspector at 6 months. One of the things that I've been advised by the Director of Development Services is that there is a need to bring that person on sooner. But it's been clear that when that individual is hired, whenever you approve that, the intention is for that person to start covering Fridays. And with that, I would take any questions that you have.
Council questions? I think Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Gussie, you had brought this forward, so I'd kind of turn some time over to you if you'd like to, bring up some points and have a further discussion. So, Councilmember Smith.
Thanks, Mayor. And thanks, Gregory. I originally asked Gregory what we can do in regards to studying, doing a survey to better understand a little bit more actually than what the survey went out for. The survey covered employees, and I worked with Jennifer, and she came up with the 2 questions, and the 2 questions seemed good at the time, but then once I received the feedback, I started questioning whether or not we should have delved a little bit deeper in the survey. But given that, I still think the data is usable. But what we didn't get is new information 5 years later on how do residents perceive this? Are they struggling with it? How do developers, businesses see it? And are they struggling with it at all? And the reason I ask that is because I receive on a regular basis input from developer groups or businesses that if they want to ask questions, questions about their development, questions about their invoices, questions on making payments for the various fees that they have to pay, whatever questions they have, if they wait until Thursday afternoon, they're not going to get an answer for 3 days later. And they find that very cumbersome and very frustrating for the ones that speak to me. And it's hard to say exactly how big that group is that's frustrated, but I do receive complaints. And then I also receive input from residents that would like access to City Hall on Friday. And I know some of the arguments in the original study 5 years ago indicated that Fridays are slow and that we're offering extra hours, an hour earlier in the morning, an hour later. But the residents that have spoken with me indicate, well, I work out of town, so I'm leaving an hour earlier before 8 o'clock, and I'm getting back into town an hour later, so those 10-hour work days don't help me. Or I might be working 4 10s, and so I'm working Monday through Thursday, and so I have no option of getting in on Friday. So I wanted to look at ways that we could, so let me give the audience a little bit of information. The survey came back, just like City Manager Rose said, that the employees, 80% of them enjoy 4 10s. And some of them seemed a little upset in their comments saying, I'll go find another job if you change from 4 10s. So I had no intention of wanting to change from 4 10s, but just as you spoke with inspectors, you can do an overlap schedule for those key elements that residents are looking for, that business developers are looking for, and businesses are looking for, where part of the team is working Monday through Thursday and part of the team is working Tuesday through Friday. And then you have 10% of the people, or 20, if we're going with 80%, we're happy with the 4 10s. 20% of the people indicated that 410s is tiring to them or doesn't work for their family life, and they feel less productive because of the various reasons, and they feel like the 5/8s work best for them. And so I really wanted to jump into how can we help the employees with some flexibility, and how can we help our residents, our businesses, and our developers by actually being open 5 days a week. And as I mentioned, you can commingle the 410s by alternating Mondays and Fridays, who has them off, and then you can allow some flexibility for those that like the 8-hour day. But there's another option in terms of 4 9s and working only 4 hours on Friday. But that might be confusing to residents. But all I'm saying is that there are options and flexibility to help the employees, the residents, the businesses, the developers, so that they're not having this frustration and not having to wait 3 days to get an answer. So really, in summary, and then the Economic Development Strategic Plan actually indicated that we needed to look at customer service and how better to help them as well. So what I'm looking for from council is, does that make sense to you that we dig into this a little deeper and find out if there's a way to better provide support to our residents, better provide support to our developers, our businesses, and also providing flexibility to the employees for what their needs are?
Perfect. I'll shoot it over to Councilwoman Gussie before we kind of come back to additional discussion. So, Councilwoman.
I guess I misunderstood when we brought this back. I thought the direction was that we were going to get a perspective from the business owners and those that are not our employees, but the only perspective that we have right now is our actual employees. My concerns were also that you mentioned that Fridays you're going to accommodate those inspectors to come in on Fridays because they were actually being charged in the past for requesting an inspection on Fridays. Is that correct? All right, so that's going to change immediately or soon?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Gussie, the intention is once we're able to hire the additional inspector, that inspector will work Fridays, which would result in the builders not having to pay that additional fee. That's what the goal is. So we're going to flatten out the cost that they would incur, no matter whether their inspection occurred on Monday or whether it occurred on Friday.
And I guess my question to the council is, are you willing to go out and look at do a survey for those utilizing the services to find out what they're, because I echo what you had mentioned. I work out of the city, and by the time I leave town, this place is closed. By the time I get back into town, this place is closed. So it makes it very difficult for people like myself that work every day and work outside of the city to be here to get any services done. Not that I can make accommodations, but why should all our residents do that? And better yet, adding another day would just add more time. And whichever way you design it, and at the end of the day, you're the city manager, you're their boss, and you decide for them, not necessarily us, but at the same time, I want to better accommodate the people that are actually utilizing City Hall. And even if we could dive into what are the services that they're getting in here for, if they're looking to get a passport done, they can't come in on Fridays because it's closed. They can't come in on Saturday or Sunday. So I'd just like to know what it is that they're coming in here for, and why, if they're not getting the services that they need because the place is closed on Fridays.
Honorable Mayor, two issues. I think the first is that a survey seems reasonable to me in the sense of trying to wrap our arms around how severe of an issue is this. And I think a survey would be a good tool for identifying whether you have a significant number of people that have concerns with the time period that City Hall is open, or whether that's just a very small number. The second issue is to work certainly with the department directors during the time period, actually when we're doing the survey, to learn what would be the impacts. Because you're not adding staff, so you're going to dilute someday. So what is going to be the impact to our operations. So that's how I would like to proceed if it's acceptable to you.
Thank you for your responses. Councilmember Manfredi.
Did Martin want to say something? He came up. You good?
Go ahead.
Oh. I think Martin wanted to say something. Address Julie.
He's confirmed.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the presentation. I'm just kind of happy we didn't pay an outside consultant for this survey because I could have predicted the results. Obviously, people that are working 410s don't want to go back to 5/8s. I mean, that's common sense. We know that. It's a great thing to work 410s. A lot of people are moving in that direction, which means that a lot of people are off on Fridays and would use the services of the city, I believe. A funny thing is my wife actually came in to pay an alarm. I think it is an alarm permit, I guess. And she came in on a Friday. And then she told me, I didn't realize, my own wife, didn't realize they were closed on Fridays and she couldn't come in and pay it. So I had to come in on Monday and do it. But, so I know there's residents out there that don't know we're closed on Fridays. I know there's residents out there that come to that door on Friday. So my thought process, I thought it was going to be a survey of not only our employees, but of the actual constituents, the people that we work with or that work with the city, the people that use our city services. And I thought we were going to have an outside survey done to figure out what the people want. Because regardless of what we want, it doesn't really matter, right? It's what the people want. The taxpayers of Maricopa, if they want those doors open on Friday, they should be open on Friday. So I think going forward, and you mentioned you're open to it, so I think we should do a survey that finds out what the people of Maricopa want in terms of services.
Mayor, I would just like to address why this survey went forward first. This actually was a discussion as a part of my evaluation process. I think that there had been some comments made by some employees, so there was a desire to find out how significant of a problem this was, whether it was a significant problem or just a few employees that did not like working the 4-day. So consistent with that approach, yeah, I would certainly be comfortable with surveying the community as well.
Also important to recognize is that only 16 non-management employees took the survey and 17 management employees took the survey. And of the management employees, I think it was 94% like the 410 schedule. But we didn't have a huge sample size, that's my Donald Trump in me there, sample size coming out.
We'd have to pay a consultant for that.
I know, right? Thank you.
I think it depends on what council wants to do here. I have no problem supporting my council members in looking out to the survey to find out more about what people want. I have at the moment I'm under the impression and the opinion that this is a tweak that we need to make. I don't think we need to overhaul the entire system. And the reason is that when you have 80% of the population that's working here saying that they want to do this, and I know you just gave it's a survey, and so right. Surveys are always based on percentages, but at the same time 80% enjoy that. That's pretty high. Now again, I can concur with what Councilmember Smith said that this is an evolution. And in any evolution, you should tweak it. You should tweak things. We should review them and find out, what people need and want. But I hesitate to say that we're going to do too much in a variety of respects. And the reason is that I think this is about finding balance. One of the things we know here in the city of Maricopa is that there's always a competition for workforce. And one of the things that we have to do is we can't necessarily pay what Chandler or Mesa or other locations can often pay. And so if we want to keep good people, we have to find creative alternative ways to incentivize perks that keep people around. And I think this is definitely one of them. And so while there are services that need to be rendered, I think certainly in the development services area that we talked about from builders, but at the same time, we've also been moving more and more towards the online services, through SmartGov. So while that's still in its infancy, it's still on the up and coming, I think that alone will deplete many of those complaints that have been issued thus far. I mean, I still talk to people that believe that something happens here in a given way because they had an experience 5 years ago. I ask them, Well, that was 5 years ago. Have you been to to the city lately in those things that have evolved and changed? And this city is all about change, and it's always about finding that ability to hit that middle ground. I think the other side of it is too, that one of the arguments I'm not persuaded by at the moment is the fact that so many of us do work out of town, but if we cut that to an 8-hour work day, how does that make it any easier to get here? It opens later and closes earlier, rather than, if you still have to commute out of town at that time, so you're 15 minutes late to your job, but you still made it into City Hall the second that it opened, and you got your service done, and you got your things done on that Monday through Thursday. So again, I'm all for the service. I'm all for finding out, what areas we need to tweak and to adjust. But I think we have to maintain that balance, because there's another side to this too, and that is, if you've ever been in here on a Friday, I'm in here oftentimes on a Friday, and in that time, it's not quite as air conditioned as it is the rest of the time. That's a huge savings, because we're not pumping the AC through as we are other times. The other thing that we suffer in this city that we don't often talk about is the air quality, right? We still have that PM 2.5 monitor. If any of you know anything about PM 2.5, that's a big problem, and it's a big deal, and it can stop economic development as a whole, which means we can't build anything more. Think about the amount of development that would come to a screeching halt if that thing was activated in such a fashion from the EPA that said we could no longer do it. So when you're reducing an entire staff of roughly 250 people, it's 300 people, but let's say 250 of them are no longer coming in, or even 100 of them not coming in, driving around in their cars to do the things that requires from the daily commuting. That's that many more vehicles off the road. I think telecommuting, but I think there are ways to tweak this. I think that when we talk about the inspectors on that overlap, I'm supportive of that. But I also do understand the argument that City Manager Rose just made, which is if we take people out of service to move them to an additional day, then that means they're out of service on the other 4 days, or at least one of the 4 days in which we're very busy, perhaps proportionately more busy than the Friday time. So those are things that we have to consider and weigh out so that we can make those decisions. And there was one last point I wanted to make, and I don't recall what it was off the top of my head, but I just think that we have to find a balance. I think tweaking it is important, looking more to SmartGov. The last point I was going to make is that, I don't think it's so far-fetched. We've set up a hotline that goes directly to our Director of Economic Development for problems and challenges with the overpass. So when a business has a problem, they're able to call this hotline, and Denise picks it up or returns that phone call and is in most prompt time as able, right? Unless she's gone or unavailable to grab her phone. But it links to her cell phone, right? I mean, so it could be 2 in the morning and she's getting these calls. How hard is it then for us to set up some sort of a line where, you call into the main number, and if there's an emergency question or something that has to be, that we can have one person on call, so to speak, in that given department where they check that line throughout the course of the weekend or on a Friday. So again, I'm just trying to find ways that we do tweak it, we do make it more efficient, we do make it more service oriented, but yet we still maintain that balance for the employee and citizen relationship. And I think it's feasible and possible. So again, I do support going out and asking people what things they'd like to see. I think that will help target that a little bit more, but I just wanted to express my concerns there, that I think we've really got to target it. Instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, we've really got to focus more on how do we remain competitive and looking forward at the same time. So those are my comments. Councilmember Chapados and then Councilmember Smith.
Mr. Rose, thanks for the report. I think I'm going to be the voice of dissension here. I do not agree that we need to do another survey because I think we're jumping the gun. I think that this is a program that was instituted 5 years ago. If the issue is people aren't aware that we're only open 4/10, we're not the only city in the region that does that. In the PowerPoint that you supplied as part of the presentation that was submitted back in 2012, there were 17 cities that worked a 4/10. The other thing is that internally, I don't have all the information to make it cost effective from this side as well as the public side. Has there been a reduction in sick leave? Has there been increased morale? Because anytime you have a holiday on a Monday, these folks have a 4 days off. That's a mini vacation. I think there's definitely been some pluses. I think some of the arguments about, bringing the inspectors on Friday, if you bring an inspector on, they're not going to be here. They're going to be out in the field inspecting. So the other issue that I have is employee safety. When you have regular business hours, there's multiple people here. So if there is an incident, there's somebody there that can hear, see, call for help, help intervene, whatever is appropriate. If you go back several years ago, we actually had a police sergeant stationed in the lobby of City Hall because of some of the issues. Who is it that we need? I mean, no offense, Vanessa, but I saw your eyes roll when we said hook up somebody to a cell phone. Who's going to field most of these calls? It's the city clerk's office. This poor lady gets called in on her days off in the evenings. She even had to work on her birthday this year. But I think we have to work harder, work smarter, not harder. So I think before we even take this next step to say, let's ask people what they want to see, I know what people want to see. They want to see comprehensive services. Does that mean they are going to need them every Friday? Maybe we try what some of the HOAs do. I know my HOA, on the last business day of the month, they have extended hours, so people can get those last minute things in. Maybe we start slowly and say, what if we were open one Friday a month? But I don't even think we're there yet. I think internally, I'd like to know more information about, has there been a reduction in sick time? Clearly, the majority of people that did respond to the survey like the 410s. It works, it saves us money. I'm not so sure that before we go off on the survey road again, that we need to know exactly what we're asking for and what we intend to do with those results. I don't want to have a bunch of people come back and say, yeah, it'd be nice if you were open. I may come, I may not come. We're not the only ones that are doing this. So I'd also like some input from some other cities. What kind of challenges have they faced? If it's a simple matter of doing an awareness campaign to let people know we're open 410s, I think that's a much easier problem to solve. But then again, I'm going to go back to my biggest hesitancy is the safety aspect. You can't just open City Hall up on one day and have one person out there. So it's going to involve multiple people. And if they don't work behind that main desk, that means they're not down in that area. So what problem are we really trying to solve?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Chapdos, I think that's the question is there a problem that exists? And if so, then what is that problem? And the answer may not be to have Monday through Friday services for everyone. Maybe it's a spin-off of what you suggested. Perhaps maybe it's bringing some employees in later so that they're here until 8 o'clock, but they don't come back in to work until 8 that next morning or something like that. I don't know. I think at this point it's just trying to identify for everyone, is this a problem? And then secondly, if it is a problem, what are those problems that we see, and how many people believe it's actually a problem?
Well, one thing that we didn't have that I don't know how difficult it would be, but when that phone rings from Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, come Monday morning, the person who's out at that information desk, don't they know how many messages they have to field? I mean, isn't there a way that we could at least get some kind of preliminary information of what kind of calls are we missing on Friday and the weekends?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Chapdos, I can check with the girls at the front desk. I'm not sure how many messages they're receiving. I know that I do get a couple of messages or emails on the weekend, and I do respond if it's on Friday. I do respond on Fridays, but I'm not sure at the front desk. If anybody calls into the front desk and nobody answers, it does roll over to the back. So it rolls over to my desk, records coordinator and the deputy city clerk. I'm not sure if they're able to leave messages on those machines, but we can definitely check.
Also, Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Chapdos, I also want to note, because staff may not be here on Fridays, that doesn't mean that they're not working. I think one of the other pieces of equipment that's provided to many staff is the take-home computer. So email is the preferred method, I think, of communication these days. And so many of our staff take their computer home, work on Fridays. What happens is that because there's not the pressure of having to respond to individuals directly at City Hall, people typically get more work accomplished. So I don't, it would be a mistake to believe that employees are not working at all on Friday. I think many of them are.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes, I just wanted to re-clarify, tweaking was definitely my idea. I mean, I don't want to go to everybody 8 to 5 because it does put more cars. According to the research that was done 5 years ago, it puts about 50, maybe at this point our employees have grown in numbers more, and so it might be up to 60, 75 because police and fire, library, Copper Sky, they're all working normal work hours. And the objective is both for employees. I mean, I'm concerned about the 10 to 20% of employees that feel tired, that feel exhausted by the time they work 4 10-hour days. I'm worried about them, and it doesn't fit for their family. And so having the building open 5 days a week not only serves our residents and our businesses, but it also helps the employees achieve the schedule that works best for them in this tweaking. So I see it as a hybrid, and I just wanted to make that clear. I'm definitely interested in going out and getting information from residents, businesses, and developers to better understand it. Because like I said, I'm just hearing from, you know, this person, that person. It's small in numbers in regards to I'm one council member receiving information, but what does the bigger portion of the population believe and need and understand? And we go from there.
Councilman Manfredi.
And just to clarify again, I was not saying open 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. What I was saying is exactly as Nancy was saying. If there's a tweak possible, we probably have employees that kind of want to work Fridays and not come in at 7 in the morning, I would assume. I mean, in one of the survey questions, it had maybe I work 9-hour days and then come in for 4 hours on a Friday. So that way they're here in the morning on a Friday. So I think we can be flexible and work with our employees to give them the benefits that they like, but also provide benefits to our taxpayers. Thank you.
So, Council, are we in agreement then, at least to some extent, that we will give direction to the city manager to go back and do some additional research from the standpoint of some additional survey questions, businesses, et cetera, that's been expressed here, and then bring it back to us with additional clarification?
Mayor, I know the judge wanted to make some comments.
Does he want to volunteer for
Thank
Work
you,
Friday?
Honorable Council, Mr. Mayor. If you could add in to the direction to include the courts, we have very much in embryonic discussions at the court, we've talked about the idea of going to 410s. Under current statute, an elected county official is only required to have his office open 40 hours a week. It does not say 5 days a week. Currently, we're open 49 hours or 45 hours a week. We're 9 hours Monday through Friday. So we've talked about the idea of going to 4 days. We'd be open 11 hours, we'd still be open 44. We'd lose 1 hour. Right. And part of the reason we've talked about it is the city is on the 410s, but the court's still 5 days. And we know that our 2 busiest hours is the first hour in the morning and the last hour of the day. And we have online payments, we have mail-in payments, we have a lot of ways that people can do business with the court, yet a lot of people like to come into the court and do it in person. So they're doing it on their way out of town or as they're coming back into town. And so the thought and the discussion has been we'd open at 7 and we'd go to 6 from Monday through Thursday. There are a lot of things for us to think about, and we've got to deal with emergencies and search warrants and a lot of things like that I think we can get through. But in terms of serving the public, and we serve a common public, if you're going to give that direction to the city manager, I'd ask that the courts be included. And again, the idea for us is, are we better serving that constituency by being open earlier and later, fewer days of the week to allow them to come in and out of town as well? So if you'd add that, I'd sure appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Vice Mayor, did you have something?
Oh, yes, Judge, please.
Judge, the Vice Mayor wants to ask you a question regarding that.
I'm not used to being asked questions. You can't ask me questions. No, go ahead, Vice Mayor. Thank you.
You're such a swell guy. If you were to change to the 4-day week, would that be an appreciable hardship for any of the traffic that you now experience?
That's part of what we're looking at. I mean, I really wasn't prepared to address this tonight, but I hear this discussion going on, and let's join in on it. Right now, Fridays are our slowest day by design.
I remember that. the whole issue in 2012 is that there's very little traffic that we experience at City Hall. That's why this whole thing came up.
Yeah, most people don't want to come into court Friday afternoon. That's just the reality. So I don't completely know the answer to that, but that's, something we're looking into. Concerns we would have is, emergency orders of protection, search warrants. A lot of that I can just handle on my own. Any judge can do that. We don't necessarily have to have staff in the courthouse. It's not different than a Saturday or Sunday. So I don't know that it would create an additional hardship on the community if we weren't open on Fridays. But I'm curious to know how the community feels about that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other concerns? With that, I would agree that if we're going to do this, absolutely work with the judge on including, that information. I think certainly it would benefit everybody.
Yeah,
so
it's easy to incorporate the courts.
Okay. Council, we pretty much in agreement with that?
Yes. And this would be an internal survey, correct?
Correct. Yes, internal survey. Just for Councilman Manfredi's appeasement.
Yeah, I don't want to pay anybody for the survey, is what I'm saying. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Exactly. That's right. Item 10.8. This is an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Maricopa amending Section 2-823A of the Maricopa City Code to add the Legislative Affairs Council Subcommittee. This is for discussion and action. Dale, take it away. Dale, would you push that button?
Oh, now we're on.
There we go.
There we go. I've never been told to be louder. Before you tonight is an ordinance to officially establish the Legislative Affairs Council Subcommittee. It'll be comprised of the mayor or your designee and 2 council members and would guide the city's legislative activities. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Perfect. Council, we've talked about this and brought this before us at the budget season time, just because we were discussing everything. The BFO has hashed it out a little bit more. I thought I would be, if approved, I thought I would be ready to appoint tonight, but unfortunately I'm not, so I have a few more of you to talk with just to get the final 1 or 2 of you on this committee. So with that, is there any further discussion on this item for questions? Not seeing any. Can we have a motion? We have a motion. Is there a second? And a second. Further discussion? None. All in favor say aye. Roll call.
Councilmember Wade? Oh, sorry. Councilmember Manfredi?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapados?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gussie?
Yes.
Mayor Price?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great presentation, Dale. Excellent job.
Good job.
Thank you very much for being with us this evening. That concludes our meeting with that amount. Council, I need a motion to return to E-session, please.
So moved.
Is there a second? There's the second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Thanks.